Well, good afternoon, my stitchy friends. You've reached the NeedleBugg, and my name is Karen, and today we're going to do a bit of a stitch with me on God Shed His Grace by Cross Stitch Studio, and I am working on 20 count Easy Guide fabric from Zweigart. So that's what we're going to be up to today. I want to say welcome, very big welcome to all the new subscribers lately. Wow, it seems to be going up by leaps and bounds, and that's absolutely wonderful. And I want to thank each and every one of you for checking out the channel and giving it a chance. For those that have been subscribed and keep coming back, thank you so much. You all know how I feel about each and every one of you, and it's just a pleasure to be able to put on these videos for you. So as I said, today I'm going to stitch on God Shed His Grace. And you're looking at the screen and going, oh my heavens, what is she doing again? Those of you that are new here will find out that very quickly that I change my method of stitching all the time. Sometimes I do cross country. Sometimes I do diagonal arcing row by row. Sometimes I do diagonal color completion within the row. You pick a technique to stitch a full coverage, and at one time or another, I have probably tried it. It's just how I roll. So you're saying, okay, Karen, what are you doing today? Well, to be perfectly honest, it has been years. And when I say years, I mean quite a few years since I did, just tighten this up here a little bit so I don't lose it. I did extreme cross country. Now, I've been known to frequently stitch cross country within an area, but it has been many, many years since I did extreme cross country. In fact, when I was going to use that technique was, oh my goodness, I'm going to say probably a good 7 years ago, when I first started Stitcher's Retreat. And it has to be if that long, if not a bit longer, because it took me 5 years to stitch that. It's been hanging on my wall for, I'm going to guess a good 2, maybe 3 years. So somewhere between 7 and 10 years since I actually tried extreme cross country. Well, okay, stop your laughing, everybody. I know you are. You're going, oh my God, Karen, what the world? But yeah, I'm going to give it a shot again. I'm going to try. The reason I stopped when I started Stitcher's Retreat, and I had done a couple thousand stitches, but I never completed one whole color. And even though I was using gridded fabric at the time, it was my first very large full coverage piece. I mean, I had stitched some full coverage pieces before. I've done quite a few of the graphs by Barbara and Cheryl. Blitz Stitch has done some of those. I can think of 2 that he's done. I can't tell you the names right off the top of my head, but I do know that Brian has stitched. Sunshine and Shadows, I think, is the one that he's working on now. And the other one that I know he did, it was a house. Well, they're kind of all houses, but it was a big white house sitting in a big open area. But anyway, they were full coverage, but not to the extent that these are full coverage. So, and I've talked before about how I stitched them and divided it up into sections and used markers and all of that good stuff. So I didn't even really do extreme cross country when I was stitching those. And I got kind of scared when I was working on Stitcher's Retreat of doing that because, hey, like I said, it's such a huge piece. I was new to this type of full coverage at the time, believe it or not. And I was scared and had all kinds of scenarios going on in my head of, oh my God, what if I miscount? How do I attack this? What if I miscount and I don't find it until I have half the colors put in, and all of a sudden I see, oops, that color was wrong. What do I do? So my head was playing all kinds of games. So I stopped working extreme cross country. And as, again, most of you that have been following me for some time know that Stitcher's Retreat has about every method of stitching full coverage on it. Now, the only way you can tell is by looking at the back, but it has many, 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 many methods. And it just has been like a learning piece for me. Yeah. So, again, I see people, this happens to me all the time. I see people stitching where they're parking, and I go, oh, I think I want to park again. Well, then I see somebody doing another method, and oh, I think I want to do that again. Then I see yet another method. Oh, yeah, I think I'd like to, I'm bored with this. I think I'll try that. Story of my life, people. Story of my life. So, I forget who I was watching. No, I was following someone on Facebook that was stitching a piece extreme cross country. And again, I got so taken aback by it. And it's a totally different way of your picture coming together. So I thought, I gave it up years ago because I was afraid. And like a lot of you that are working on your very first full coverage or very first big full coverage, you get a little bit of the heebie-jeebies of, I'm not so sure about this. But again, I'm not an expert. However, when it comes to full coverage stitching, I'm a lot more secure in it now than I was at that time. And I guess I'm not as intimidated by it as I was at that time. Believe it or not, I was just as afraid of these designs as some of you are when you first started doing them. It was like, oh my God, what if I make a mistake? What if? You know, we're always full of making a mistake, and I think I just miscounted here. I think I did do something wrong. Hold the phone. Let me check. There, we did those. Okay. Okay, here's the 2, here's the 1. Skip 2, 1. Skip, aha, that's where it is. Aha, ha, 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 ha. And of course, wouldn't you know, I stitched all these others. Yeah, see? Frog. And really, this is just a backgroundish type thing here, and I shouldn't really fret too much about it, but you know how it goes. Okay, which stitch did I do? Find the one. It must be this one. There we go. So anyway, I'm not as intimidated by it as I was before. So I really thought, okay, let's try this extreme cross country again. Let's just see what we can make of it. You know, it, as with any method, they all, every one of them has their advantages and disadvantages. Every one. So let me remark this again. You know what a disadvantage is? That's what I just did, miscounting. But then again, you can do that. That's always a disadvantage, no matter what project you're working on. It's not specific to extreme cross country. Not at all. Here we did this. And we'll do this. So, you know, you think of that as a con when you're listing pros and cons, but it's something that you would list on every piece that you're stitching, because that's can always be an issue. An advantage is I only have to worry about one color thread at the moment. So right now I'm stitching with 934. And if I decide I want to take this somewhere to stitch, it's no big deal to just take a skein of 934 with me. That's not a problem. You know, that's easy. Downside, when you're talking, let's see, 934 has 6,888 stitches, which in the grand scheme of things isn't all that terrible bad. This first panel that I pulled out of God Shed His Grace is 170. It pushes 171,000 stitches. So 6889. Well, that's not so bad. Will I get bored doing that many stitches of a color before I can switch to another color? Well, This is the test. It remains to be seen. So like I said, it's just give this isn't new to me, but give something else a try. And many people have found their niche, so to speak, of the method that is their ride or die method to use when stitching full coverage. And that's great. I personally don't think I've happened upon that exact perfect method yet. And some days I wonder, will I ever? Will I ever? I want to enjoy my stitching, and I don't want to be bored. I have 2,063 stitches in this so far. Now here I did start on the diagonal, so there's some black in there. And yes, I did forget to cross this one. I will go back and cross it when I'm closer to that color, closer down here to what that color, and using that color. So, yeah. I mean, so what can I say? It's something new again. Besides that, is that not part of my persona? That why one of the reasons I know that's one of the reasons that some people keep coming back to this channel, because they just never know what they're going to find when they get here. Okay, what method's Karen using today? Let's see. Let's go check it out. See what she's doing. And you really don't ever know. But I thought I'd make this piece a project to do stitch alongs, just like we did with when I was working on Stitcher's Retreat, and most of my stitch alongs were on that. I will, however, throw, not throw them, but I will, however, do some with Fred, the stocking that I'm making for my daughter, and Snowman, which is the stocking I'm making for her husband. So I will throw them in on occasion just for a little variety, because you guys will probably get bored just seeing the same old thing. Yeah. But that brings me to kind of segues into another thing I've been thinking about. And I look at this piece and I truly, truly love it. And I had one of my subscribers message me yesterday on where can I get the chart, and she had what did I do again? Oh, you know what? I keep looking at the page. I got to get rid of these page lines. That makes me page breaks. Turn that off. I keep looking at that and thinking it's the bottom of the 10 by 10. And then that messes up my counting. Because I did it again. Look at this. Twice I'm frogging the same thing. Because what I failed to do was leave a stitch in here. So that means all of this comes out once again. This is what you call keeping it real. Oh my. But anyway, as I'm frogging this, I'll tell you what else I was thinking. And every now and again, I think about how many projects I have started, and then it makes me a little bit anxiety ridden to have all these things started when I know, well, I don't know, but I can be reasonably assured that chances are not very likely that I will ever get them all stitched. I know it sounds a little morbid, but okay, there's the infamous but. When your age starts to creep up, and now the tunnel is shorter, the life you've lived is longer, far longer than the tunnel of the future is. I mean, you all know, most of you know my age. I will be 72 on my next birthday in July. So I start going, seriously? How much of what I have started am I, in all reality, going to get finished? Okay, let me just work this out here. See, this is why I get a little iffy of, do I really want to do this? So here's 3. That's the double. Okay, I missed a stitch over here. We're gonna fix this right away. And the conclusion that I've come to is I'm not going to give up stitching, first of all. That is never going to happen. As long as I have hands that work and eyes that can see, whether it be with magnification or not, or if I have to use bigger fabric than I really want to, stitching is such a part of my life, it's not going away. But what I decided is I want to spend my stitching time on things that I truly, really love. And things that I truly, really would like to finish. If that can be the case. God willing and the creeks don't rise. Hopefully I'm going to be around for a good long time yet and finish at least one more monster project. And right now, I think that project is this one. This kind of has filled that void that I've been feeling since Stitcher's Retreat. I've fallen in love with several designs. I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be the one. That's going to be the one, and it ends up not being the one. What did I start? What did I start? I can't remember. But I had started something. And then Autumn Church came along, and that was going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. Well, let me tell you how long that lasted. I love the design. I truly do love the design. But I'm at the point, is that the one that I really want to spend a whole lot of time stitching? Is that the one? And unfortunately, and I know how many times, okay, I know you guys are sitting there going, but Karen, you started it how many times on how many different fabrics? It was going to be the one. It was going to be the one. And now it's kind of not. Okay, you guys ought to know me. My mind changes like the weather. So I'm kind of feeling like Autumn Church is not going to be the one that I'm going to want to stitch on and potentially get a finish. It's not going to be the one. The 2 stockings, absolutely. I will keep plugging away at those, and my daughter and her husband will get them eventually. Might not be right away. Okay, what do I keep doing wrong here? Now I know that this is right. Okay, guys, look at that chart, and could you please voice it to me? Okay, that's right. And that's right, but there should be, oh, there is. Oh, Karen, you're looking at the wrong place, you dummy. Yes, I do talk to myself. I answer myself. I yell at myself. I was just one stitch ahead of me. Yeah, I told you, it's a short trip to Crazy Land. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of that. I haven't made any final decisions about pieces that I have started. I haven't. If I do come to some final conclusions about, okay, this is started, but realistically, I'm not going to finish it. I will be rehoming them. You know, I'm not. I should say, if there is a fair amount done, I will rehome them. If there's not much done at all, I will do one of 2 things: either cut the stitched part off and reuse the fabric, or actually unpick the stitches and reuse the fabric. I don't have a problem with doing that. So, yeah. So stay on the lookout. There could be some pieces on the... Okay, here we go. Coming upon the rehoming pile. So, but we shall see what that might bring. But let's see what else I had on my list. I kind of skipped around a little bit. I had some questions for those of you that do stitch extreme cross country. Like I said, it's been ages upon ages upon ages since I've done it. And I just would like some thoughts on what others are doing cross-country wise. Like, do you strictly use Pattern Keeper and actually stitch following and marking off, like I'm doing now, following and marking off Pattern Keeper? Or, I don't know if any of you remember him, but years ago in the Heaven and Earth group, there was a gentleman, and I want to say he was from the Philippines. I want to say, but I'm not I don't 100% know that for sure anymore. But his first name was Mario, and he stitched on 11 count fabric. I know, Heaven and Earth design on 11 count fabric. Can you imagine the size of that piece? They were humongous, but they were oh so beautiful. But he stitched on 11 count with 4 strands of floss. But what he did that I found very interesting, and I'm wondering if any of you take the time to do the same thing. But what he did, I have a pen here, or do I? I do, but I'm not going to actually, maybe I'll put one little mark. He has different colored pens, but what he would do is sit with his chart and the pen, and he would put, just a dot on the squares that needed to be that color. Now, I didn't make that very dark because this is a regular ink pen and I don't want it won't show through because these are dark colors. But he would put a mark on the square that color went with, so that when he sat down to stitch, he could just sit and stitch and not have to look at a chart, because essentially it was already, he had pre-printed more or less the chart, the stitches he needed to do onto the fabric. I'm just curious if anybody does that. And if you do, what do you use to do that? Do you use a friction pen? Not a marker, a pen. Do you use a regular ink pen? I'm just curious what other people do. Is it, do you see doing that as potentially just a total waste of time, when you could just, since the advent of Pattern Keeper, where you can just sit and follow your chart, mark it off as you go, you grid on the pattern, matches the grid on your fabric. And what I'm doing here with this 934 is I'm working a 10 by 10 block at a time, and I'm just moving up and down within the area that's exposed currently on my Q-snap. And when I finish everything in this area, then I'll move my Q-snap and pick another area to work on. Like I said, I was just curious, does anybody still do that? Or is it just a total waste of time? I could see wanting to do that a lot more if I was working from a paper chart, because a paper chart is, okay, I'm spoiled. with a digital chart. I'm spoiled. I about don't like stitching from paper charts at all anymore. But I could see if you're using a paper chart where that would be highly advantageous because you've already done your searching for the colors or for the color that you're working on. So you've already, it's kind of like using the search function in Pattern Keeper. You're just marking it on the chart, on the fabric itself. So now you can just sit and stitch, where since Pattern Keeper, you can have your tablet right aside of you like mine is, and I can just sit and stitch. One more. And it's not a big deal to mark off, but I don't know what made me think about him, about Mario. I guess because I was thinking of, okay, what are ways to like make this even easier to stitch? Besides that, this is a great way to stitch for a stitch with me because you're just working one color and you follow the color in the 10 by 10 block and move to the next 10 by 10 block. So next I'll go up this one, then down this one, then up this one. You know, it's borders on the this is mindless stitching stuff. But that's okay. Again, it's something different. It's a new technique, not new to me, but new in as I haven't done it in a whole lot of years. So we'll see. We will see. And I will say, I think I started telling you and then I got sidetracked, but I did have a lady contact me about where you can purchase this chart because she just fell in love with it. And I said, well, once you have your chart and supplies, feel free to stitch along with me. And if anybody else wants to join in the fun and stitch this, that would be wonderful. Till next time I do a stitch with me, I'll have to come up with maybe a hashtag for Instagram. And I will say I am so bad about posting photos there. I just forget to do it. But I will try very hard to remember to do that more often, especially when working on this one. Because this, it's just so gorgeous. I'm hoping to at least get the one panel that I made. I'm hoping to at least get that finished. And then I will be happy. Will I do more? If time allows, yeah, I'll start the next panel. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, yeah, this is the one. In fact, I'm so naughty where this is all I want to do. Well, I still have blocks to do in our Hardanger Stitch Along, people. I will get caught up or caught up with myself or enough to make videos to the end of it and show you, in that stitch along anymore, I really don't have any stitches to teach you. All that's left is just to complete the blocks with the stitches you already know. I have kept on doing the videos because there are people that depend on them to know how and where to start a particular block. And that's what I've been doing. So I really should be a good girl and put this aside for a bit and do those videos so that that's done. But, well, sidetracked it is. And not only do I have that, oh, the Heart Hanger series, I'm calling that completed at this time because you have all the steps. I was going to sit and make an ornament with video, a start to finish ornament. However, technical issues. I was having trouble getting things showing on the screen the way I wanted them to. I retaped several times. I was cleaning out some of the files on my computer so as to have more room. And yours truly accidentally deleted the video. The good one to be uploaded. Because what happens is when I'm recording, this is not recording in a format that is uploadable to YouTube. So what I have to do is convert this video to a YouTube compatible format, which is not that big a deal. I have a converter. You know, it takes a little bit of time, but it's not terrible. But I have to do that in order to be able to upload it, and I'll be doing that with this video when I'm done. Well, forgetting that I hadn't actually converted it, I deleted the one in the format that this records in. Because in my head, I thought, oh, okay, you already converted it to an MP4, I think it needs to be. Well, guess what? I hadn't converted it. So I deleted my very good last part of that series. I have not had the heart to redo it all over again. However, that being said, I am available anytime for questions to that series, that Let's Learn the Basics. Anytime you have questions, you can just send me a message on Messenger or email me or whatever it takes. But with the instructions for for those stitches, you can make any piece of heart hanger that doesn't have a lot of the more decorative filling stitches. So, yeah. Yeah, I just can't bring myself to sit there and do it all over again one more time. Well, then I can't remember if I told you guys this. Okay, let's see. I talked about my cross country. I talked about rethinking my projects. I asked you the questions I had for cross country. Or one I didn't ask is, when you're stitching extreme cross country, Do you start with the most amount of stitches and work to the least? Or do you start the least and work to the most? Or do you start somewhere in between and then work down to the least and then up to the most? Or vice versa. I'm just curious what those of you that do extreme cross country, what sequence, I guess is the word I want. What sequence do you use for stitching? But let me take a drink here because my mouth is not liking all this talking. Oh, my. It was dry. Those of you who have been here know that, well, right now I'm using my Potoky mini stand, the mini that sits on the table. And you would know that I have a floor stand that holds hoops by Potoky. And I don't remember if I think I told you guys that I had a problem with it in the fact that my hoop was always falling front. Okay, it wasn't the clamp part or the head or whatever you call it was too loose, so that I had to sit and hold. I could put the hoop on the stand, but I had to hold the hoop in the right position for me to stitch. So I couldn't stitch two-handed because I had to hold the hoop anyway. Well, if I'm holding the hoop, what's the point of using the stand? And I was rather frustrated, rather disappointed that that happened. And I had emailed and I was supposed to get instructions on how to tighten it. And I waited like a good month, and I never got the instructions. So, of course, I was not having such nice, pleasant feelings about my stand. So after a month with no response, I sent another email because they were going to send me instructions, but I never got the instructions. And I figured, you know what, a month is an elegant sufficiency of time, and no one has sent me those instructions. So I emailed again. And I emailed the fact that I can't use this stand, that I'm very frustrated. I'm very disappointed because I paid a lot of money for this stand, and it's not, at this point in time, very usable. And I made another video with an empty hoop, a hoop with nothing in it. Put it on the stand, and it immediately fell front. So I did get a response to that one. And we emailed back and forth a few times, trying to come up with a resolution here. And what eventually has transpired is I am sending that clamp part that would be like, I get it in the camera there, like this part this front piece. I'm sending that back to Potoky, and they are going to repair and upgrade it. Now, what exactly the upgrade is, I don't know, but I thought, oh, just send me a new clamp part and we'll be fine. Because it attaches to a block, and it's just a screw that goes in there, and you put the knob on the back. I mean, it's not that big a deal to put back together. But apparently, and I don't understand why, apparently that part on each stand is specific to that stand. I don't quite understand it. However, that part of my stand has now reached Ukraine and hopefully will be delivered back to the Potoky factory any given day now. And I want to tell you, it takes a long time. I mailed it on the 31st of March. Now we're at the 14th of April? And it's only now in Ukraine's sorting center. Okay. So hopefully they will receive it any day now, can do whatever needs to be done to it, and then send it back to me. Now, the other good news of that is I don't believe I'm being charged for the repair or the upgrade, and they are paying all the postage. I will get reimbursed for the postage that I pay to send it over. They will reimburse me that, and then they will pay the postage to have it sent back. So I'm very, very happy about that they are standing by their product and going to make good on it. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. Hopefully it's going to actually arrive at their factory any day now. And I was assured that they would repair it, upgrade it, whatever it's going to happen right away so that it can be sent back to me rather quickly. So I hope that's the case. We shall see. But I will keep you updated and let you know how that works out. Yeah, because I really would like to use that stand. I really would. And if the clamp part of it is made that you can have it, both the top and the bottom part of it is flat, and it holds a hoop very, very nicely. However, you can take that top piece off, the top part of the clamp. You can take that off, flip it around. It has a groove in it so that you could put a Q-snap in it, or a very small scroll frame. See, and this was my issue with them, that initially it was believed that I was putting too much weight on that piece that holds the hoop. And that was the other thing I questioned in my email is, well, you show this stand being used with a small scroll frame, and I don't understand what I'm putting on the frame, on the stand, like an 8-inch hoop and a very small clip-on magnifier is any heavier than a loaded small scroll frame. Therefore, this should not be, like if that's the case, then this should not be tipping forward the way it is. And I think that's what finally, I think that email of expressing disappointment and frustration and can you explain to me why it's okay to do this, but what I'm doing is not as heavy in weight as what you're showing in your demonstration. So that isn't making sense to me. Help me understand it. That's what got it going back. So yeah, that's the saga of my stand. I did that. I missed a stitch. I did that. I did this and this. I did this. Okay. So, my friends, we are at just about an hour, and I don't like to make these much longer or any longer than an hour. And I forgot to write down what my stitch count was before I started this, but I am going to guesstimate that we did let's see, I was just around 100 and something, low hundreds. I'm going to guess that we did about 150 stitches in this hour that I've been sitting here. And the other thing is I always have to watch my phone that it doesn't run out of battery, because that's what's showing you my stitching. So with that, my friends, I just want to say thank you so very much for joining me today, for stopping by and having a chat. It's just always a pleasure to sit down and chat with you guys. And please know that I do read every comment. If I haven't written anything back to you, I will at least put a heart on it so that you know that I have seen it. There are times I may put a heart on it and it requires a response, but I needed a little more time to be able to do that response. So know that it will be coming. I try to keep up with my comments fairly quickly after I post a video. So, and if you ask me something and I don't respond with a comment back to you, shoot me an email and ask me again. And I will absolutely get an answer for you. Either give you the answer I know or find out whatever it is we need to know. So with that, I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. It's going to be close to 90 degrees here today. Oh my God. I'm glad that's a good time to sit in and stitch when it's so hot outside. But it's supposed to cool off tonight and be more normal temperatures next week. So we'll see how that goes. I hope each of you get some stitching time over this weekend. And you guys know the drill. You know what I always say, and that is the only rules in cross stitch are the ones you set for yourself. So until next time, my friends, have a great weekend. Be kind. Please be kind. Don't be a keyboard warrior. Okay. Till next time. I will see you then. Bye-bye.